Right, so the Americans have screwed up again.
I know that this was the intent with everything that's happened over the last 2 weeks. I know the intent was to overwhelm to the point where you're like, what do you even talk about? There's so much that's happened over the last 2 weeks that what do you make the focus? I know that was the intent, but it has worked.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There was a purge of the FBI. So people who were prosecuting the January 6th, so they're all being sacked or investigated. The fact that he basically cleaned out the Federal Aviation Authority, and America's had its first plane crash on fucking American soil in like something like, what is it, 16 years? Now, you can't say necessarily those two things are directly tied to each other. But the Republicans have been refusing to fucking allow funding through for all sorts of things. For years of everything in America, all infrastructure in America is fucking cracking and crumbling and rotting, and they're not paying to do fucking anything for the most part. You've got situations where bridges over there are fucking collapsing because nobody's doing maintenance and things like that. They're fucked. And one of the problems that you've got is that the Democrats are busy basically trying to play 5-dimensional chess about whether or not they should do this or do that and be obstructive the way the Republicans always are, in case the Republicans then just remove the things that the tools that they use to be obstructed, even though the Republicans so a good example is something like the cloture rule in the Senate, whereby the reason that nothing ever fucking happens in American politics is because you need 60 votes out of the 100 to get a vote, not on budget and not on appointments, but on everything else. You need 60 votes because they have a vote on whether or not they can take a vote. And so the Republicans just won't vote to have the vote. And every time the Democrats win the Senate at the start of the period, they get to basically set what the rules are going to be. And they could just get rid of that, but they don't, in case, well, if we do that, then the Republicans will just use that against us later on. They're going to use it against you now, you fucking idiots. You're not going to get anything through. Get rid of it. But at the moment, the cloture rule exists. So what the Democrats should be doing is what the Republicans do. Don't vote for the vote. You've got to fight the battle you're in now, not the next one or the one after that. You've got to fight the battle you're in now. The battle you're in now, obstruct everything. And then if they take that away, scream like pigs.
Yeah, I can understand sort of the reluctance to some degree, because once you get rid of the kind of norms and standards, a lot of these are kind of unwritten rules as well. Like, just, this is how you're supposed to behave if you're in a position of power. It's an expectation more than anything else. Once you stop that and get rid of all these things, then it's open season for everyone to just behave however they want, do whatever they want. But like you said, that is where we're at. That's what the situation they're in just now.
The sack of the FBI who investigated the criminals, the violent criminals that they've just let out of jail. He's let his own militia out of jail, and now he is firing and persecuting the people who prosecuted the criminals. That is where we're at. He's sacking members of the Federal Aviation Authority because the guy that headed up the FAA had fined Elon Musk after Elon Musk's big, massive fucking rocket blew up and scattered fucking debris all over fucking Florida and all over the fucking southern bit of America. And I had to clear air corridors that were full of passenger jets, full of fucking people. This is what's happening. Elon Musk is apparently trying to fucking get into the government payments system. The last week they cut off all fucking government payments to everything. And so people couldn't get fucking medical payments and all government payments across the United States. They had to revoke it about a day later once they realised that they fucked up massively. But they were just actually trying to take money away from the fucking trans and gay people, but actually they managed to defund America.
I mean, the January 6th pardons is obviously just the most ridiculous, outrageous thing, and quite a few of them have already been rearrested.
Did they just think that is a green light? They're like, I'm above the law, so I'm just going to go rob a bank and blow up a car or whatever. Yeah, first I guess they would.
On charges and violence,
Drink driving and all this sort of stuff.
Have they done any interviews with some of the Jan 6 people yet?
I saw, Channel 4 were doing interviews, and Emily Maitlis was sort of chatting to some of them. And But though, it's like they're in the upside down. Do you know what I mean? When they're talking about stuff, and they say absolutely fucking mad things. And well, yeah, because like Biden cheated and there were 20 million voters and they just fucking disappeared and blah 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 blah. And then they say all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, it's not like none of that's true though, but it's true in your world.
Did they remember or perceive January 6th differently? I mean, I don't know.
Oh well,
but you know what
they
I mean?
both simultaneously say that it wasn't actually a violent insurrection, but that Antifa were doing it.
Yeah, I was really surprised about the pardons because I thought it was an Antifa false flag.
Yeah, but the FBI were persecuting people wrongly to make it look real, Laura. I mean, obviously.
Oh,
So the Antifa guys are still in jail and the good guys are out of jail.
No, everyone's out.
I thought it was funny that J.D. Vance was saying, "Oh no, we're definitely going to separate out the really violent and bad guys from this, and we'll just pardon all the like non-violent folk." Obviously, he's got no clue or any like saying what goes on because then without him, being able to do anything about it, Trump just went and like pardoned every single one of them.
Well, how would you even break that up though? I mean, how would you define? I mean, presumably the people that were arrested on the day must have been inside, basically beyond the barriers where they weren't meant to be, which would have been
looking for Democrats and Mike Pence to murder.
A murder, yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, some of them had weapons and stuff, and like tasered cops, and beat up police and stuff. So there was like a variation of different, I suppose, things. Some of them just wandered in and took a couple of photos, wandered back out again. They're still trespassing, and it's still legal, but there's a variety. But a lot of people have been saying, like, Trump's done this, but Biden did a lot of pardons before he left office, which was also kind of breaking the norms of how you usually go about these.
Yeah, but to be fair, Trump had explicitly said that he was going to go after Biden's entire family. So I don't know about you, but if I was president and I had the ability to write pardons for all my family who haven't actually really done anything wrong in advance so that would be able to happen, I'd probably do that and say, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was bullshit that he pardoned. Yeah.
Well, it simultaneously is bullshit and it's terrible, but...
Yeah.
The worst thing that has happened to the Democratic Party in recent years is they go low, we go high. Because the Republicans just go, all right, you go high, we'll go low. This is brilliant.
Go even lower.
So sometimes you have to meet in the middle a wee bit to get anything done. But I do also think that we're sort of basing this on the false premise that the Democrats and Republicans are on opposite sides. They're not.
Yeah.
There are disagreements and there are differences in philosophies. But when you're talking about need to get 60 votes, the Democrats will vote with the Republicans. The Republicans just won't vote with the Democrats because the Democrats agree largely with a lot of things the Republicans are doing.
It's not that so much. There are some of them, like the...
They might find it distasteful the way that they're going about things, but...
Well, it depends what it is. I mean, one of the things is that the Democrats will routinely vote for the vote, but then vote against the actual bill, whereas the Republicans just won't vote for the vote. And it's like, if they're in a majority, they're going to get what they want. So don't vote for the vote. Oh, well, yeah, but blah, 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 blah. I mean, that's what they do to you. That's what they do to you every time. I mean, I raised my kids. If somebody punches you in the face, punch the back. Never start it, but always finish it. And I had my one of my kids had been assaulted at school and had punched that person in the face. And we went into school for the chat that you have, and the teacher said, "So we won't be taking any action against my child." I'm like, right. Why would you even need to say that? Why would that be? Why would you? He was physically assaulted by another person and responded with a punch in the face. That's fine. He didn't start it, but he fucking finished it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, you cannot bring a rolled up copy of the New York Times to a fucking gunfight. You've got to bring a fucking gun. Sick of this. Fight.
Luigi did bring a gun, just anyway. Not that we're endorsing that kind of behaviour.
We used to shoot these cunts. Do it again. It used to be cool to shoot Nazis, and let's call a spade a spade. Elon Musk did a Nazi salute in front of the presidential seal twice, deliberately, because he was signalling to his Nazi fuck pals. And if anybody disagrees that it was a Nazi salute, a really good way of sort of figuring it out is that the guy who did it's a fucking Nazi.
I like the way the BBC covered it, where they termed it as a Nazi salute-like gesture, which is a bit like saying a thumbs up-like gesture. Like, we all know what that one of them is, and that's what it looks like.
Weak fucking reporting of it, Elon Musk makes an arm movement. Critics have said appears to be a Roman salute, in quotation marks, and it's like, right, I think that you probably, as a journalist, as a normal person in society, have grown up seeing footage of like the Nuremberg rally and going, God, look at them all just kind of going. I would never just go along with that if that was me. How does it feel to know that you fucking would? Because that's a Nazi. Call it a Nazi salute. If you don't call it a Nazi salute, you're carrying water for them. They get so much joy out of being crypto-fash. Elon Musk is too fucking awkward to be crypto in an effective way, so he just did it. He just did the full. He hit the full Hitler.
It was not.
He hit the Hitler twice.
The thing is, it was the Hitler, because like, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I'm not gonna do a Nazi salute right now. But the one that he did was the one
For
that.
the record, I would just like to confirm that Chris just did a Nazi salute. Oh, he did it again.
Oh, my MAGA hat's come off. I bumped it.
So cats.
What is doing it now?
Well, these are just Nazi salute-like gestures we're doing.
It's got so wrong.
No, it's now the Elon Musk salute, actually.
The one that he did it wasn't like the straightforward 45-degree one. He did the one that was kind of off to the side, which in my memory of seeing Hitler doing these salutes is the one that Hitler would do. So I think it's not just a Nazi salute. It's like he's kind of living out a wee bit of that's me. I'm getting to be Adolf here. These are my followers. And this is a bit like Nuremberg. And I'm going to do the thing that he did. And it's not the one that's straightforward. It's the slightly kind of off to the side version that I'm sure that Hitler would do, because the one that's directly forward is about him. And his version is the, thanks very much, guys. Yes, I am the Führer. And I think that's what he was actually hitting out with two of them. Because it wasn't just one, it was twice. It was he turned around and did it to the back of the auditorium as well.
I really liked that everyone. Oh, he is autistic. It's like, yeah, he's got the Nazi kind of autism. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. Oh, it's infuriating. I was talking to I sort of approached a group of people in work who were talking about the thing, and there was one guy who was like, it wasn't a Nazi salute. I know what a Nazi salute looks like. I went, all right, go and throw in the now. Go and do exactly what he did the now. See, and he went, I know what an actual Nazi salute looks like. It wasn't that, and I was like, right, do it the now then. And then he sort of went, oh, someone sent me this comic strip by a guy called Stone Toss.
Oh, no.
I know. And I knew what it was because I'd already seen it. And it was Elon behind the thing with the arm up and somebody in the crowd pointing up at him going, look, he's doing a Nazi salute. And then the guy in the crowd realising that he's also got his arm up because he's pointing. Oh, no. And
he's doing the Nazis.
So this guy's like, oh yeah, I saw this really funny comic. Someone sent it to me on WhatsApp, this guy called Stone Toss, and he described it. And everyone kind of went, and I went, yeah, he is a Nazi. And he went, well, he is, look at his background, I can believe. I went, no, Stone Toss is a neo-Nazi. And he went, what? I went, Stone Toss is a neo-Nazi. Not ambiguous, he is a neo-Nazi. And he went, oh. And I thought, that's the last I'm going to hear about this from him. And 10 minutes later, I was back at my desk and I got a message from him and he was like, I've just Googled that guy. Holy shit, he's a Nazi. And I was like, yes, he is. The whole thing that Stone Toss does is crypto-fascism. It's to get fascist talking points and positions out in a sort of soft way that people who don't know what he's doing kind of go, oh yeah. And it softens people up. So what that has led to over the years, there has been a concerted crypto-fascist movement online. They consolidated too early with Charlottesville. That was too soon. So then they went back into their wee rotten
4chan,
Paul 8chan, just their horrible wee communities. And they were like, look, the average person, if you go up to them and you use words like white supremacy and you use words like white nationalism and you use words like white ethno state, they're not going to buy into that. The average person, the most normies, are not going to want anything to do with you. So hide your power level. Use words like white genocide, and then obviously the terms change all the time because when people catch on to what they're doing, they change the terms. So they were using things like identitarian instead of white nationalists.
Yeah, you start using like woke and DEI, things that you probably hadn't heard of like 10 years before.
Woke, DEI. There's also like the Pepe the Frog, the OK sign, they've stopped doing that. And they're just doing full-on Zeke Hiles now. They don't have to be crypto anymore because why would they have to? Elon Musk just stood up and did a Nazi salute in front of the presidential seal, and nothing happened to him except that he was defended by the ADL and replied to them saying, "Thanks, guys," with crying, laughing faces. It's just, this is where we've gone. And I spent the last 15 years sounding like a crazy person, telling people that when someone was doing an OK sign, that's a Nazi dog whistle, and they were like, "Oh, ridiculous, you're paranoid." And now this has happened, and I'm just not going to talk to people anymore. I sound insane, but I watched it happen. It's so frustrating. And the point to make them, like, making you sound insane when you're calling them out is why they use innocuous symbols. It's to make you look insane to normal people.
It's the 1,000 cuts. It's salami tactics. It's a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. It's exactly the same way that in a domestic situation, coercive control happens. A little cut, a little cut, a little cut, a little cut, until all of a sudden you find yourself in a place that's so far away from where you started, with no support, no friends, that sort of thing. And this is what has happened. And you reach a point where the norms have moved so far away from the centre.
I think the thing with this movement is they haven't got any more extreme in their ideology in the last 100 years. They're the same. So the people who recognise the things they're dog whistling about point it out. And by the way, what they're saying is racist. What they're saying is white supremacist. That's Nazi rhetoric that's disguised. And then because they're using innocuous language and they're changing the language up, then you get people who aren't part of that group also using that language because it catches on.
Yes,
so then you can't tell. So then you're calling a normal person, you're saying that's Nazi shit. And then the Nazis go, "See, these leftists are crazy. They call everybody a Nazi." And then you get to a point where people are Zeke Hiling and people are, "Well, you've been calling them Nazis for years." It's like, but they are, and they have been. They're still Nazis. They were Nazis then, they're Nazis now. It was not overblown to say that this was a fascist, white supremacist.
They just used to know that they could say it out loud.
Yeah,
they feel
they're just getting more bold.
Yeah, it's a simple trick. They have plausible deniability for anything they do that's like a Nazi dog whistle. You've got to invoke Pope Pat's rule of goats when in these circumstances, which basically is that if you fuck a goat ironically, you're still a goat fucker.
Yeah.
There's no getting around it. That's the antidote, is to say, you can't ironically throw a Nazi salute. There's just no way of doing that. That is just, if you're doing that, you are a fascist, and that's that.
Yeah. I mean, the German press wouldn't even show a picture of it. There's one newspaper I saw that basically had covered that half of the photograph in blue. So if the Nazis think it's a Nazi salute and the German press thinks it's a Nazi salute, and I think they're probably reasonably
Bolted the experts on there.
When you've got Nazis and leftists agreeing that it's a Nazi salute, and if people in the centre going, "I'm not sure actually, because what I heard was a fuck off, you."
Calling it a Roman salute, was that not the origin of, like, the Roman salute was the origin of the Nazi salute?
And yeah, basically the salute is actually Italian. It's the Italian fascists were using it first. Now, basically, the Nazis stole it because they stole everything. Like, even the swastika is not theirs. It's like
it's a Hindu symbol, but they reversed it.
Yeah. So they then got accused of nicking this off the Italians, and then Himmler had to write a letter going, "No, we were using this back in like 1921. It's ours first," and all this stuff. And it's quite funny. We read into it, and as Laura is saying, they are the same now as they were then. They're like these wee nerds in like their little club coming up with like their cool wee gestures and stuff like this that aren't even theirs. So this kind of idea of like memeing and sort of jumping on memes is not really anything new. This has been going on for years. But to the main point though, yeah, unambiguously it is a fascist thing. That's it. I think the only thing with it being Roman though is I did read that the posture of this originates, I think, in French paintings. Someone can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about this. So the French drew the Romans to do this as some kind of like military salute.
Right.
And then that's where the kind of term Roman salute comes from. But the origins in terms of its connection to like pure fucking fascism.
Well, here's the thing. The roots don't matter because it was also used when Americans were doing the Pledge of Allegiance before it was adopted by the Nazis, because once it becomes a Nazi salute, words, gestures, ways of communicating are things that we make up and assign value to. the thing that a Nazi salute communicates is that, hey, I'm a Nazi, are you a Nazi?
Do you like Hitler? I like the Hitler.
You can't be like, oh, well, no, because it used to mean that. Are you dumb or do you think I'm dumb? Which one is it? Are you fucking stupid or do you think I'm that fucking stupid? Which one is it? Because it's one of them. Or
Hey, do you know the swastika used to be a Hindu symbol?
I heard that. This is the level, and it's infuriating. It's not the Nazis. They're fucking. It's the sort of centrist normies who are so paranoid about coming across like they give a fuck about anything. They don't want to look like they're being too woke or they're being. They don't want to look like they're being too sensitive. They don't want to be cringe about it. So they will just err on the side. The Nazis, centrists always err on the side of the fascists. They always do. History shows us this.
See, I'm a centrist and I don't agree with that. I don't.
You're not a centrist.
That's how I think of myself in terms of like.
I know that's how you think of yourself.
I'm centrist.
But in terms,
happen to not be
in terms of action,
Probably were a centrist like 20 years ago. But
yeah,
the oversimplification.
I'm like hardcore communist now.
Yeah. Oh, no, listen, I don't think you've necessarily, well, you probably have. Your views will have evolved or whatever, but I think that it's just the Overton window has moved.
Yes.
If you were sitting here going, the Republicans, like the left are just as bad as the right are just as bad as the left. That's what I'm talking about. People who refuse to take a stand on anything.
The Democrats are left.
No, they're not.
Well, yeah,
but this is what I mean.
That's what we're saying. So
Centrists are people who have no, they don't know how to do any kind of political analysis. They don't have any political literacy. They just call themselves centrists because that seems like they've maybe thought about things a bit better and they're more sensible.
Years ago, Free said that, I think you were right about this, that like the Overton window that hasn't actually moved, it's shattered. And I think that sometimes this happens quite often when you and I are discussing things. The terminology actually just becomes a barrier. So you end up in a situation where like this is like a completely pointless discussion because you're not in disagreement.
No.
So you've just gone centrist and you've gone, well, I don't really think that way because I use that word to identify me. And then you end up arguing back and forth pointlessly, although you're both on exactly the same page. And a lot of that is weaponized, I think. It's deliberately done that way to have us all talking in circles, basically, rather than getting on with it.
I suppose I identify with it as a notion because I feel that I'm happy to take ideas from anywhere if they seem to me to be useful, and it's usefulness that I look for. Yeah, will that work? Can we test that? Is that and so I find a lot of sort of leftist stuff, for want of a better word, ignores the practicalities of what the real world and economy actually looks like.
I completely agree with you.
And so, you actually do need to, you do need businesses, you do need lots of businesses, and you need to encourage people to open and start businesses and run businesses. And you need to make that reasonably easy, although they need to be regulated. And I would like the government to do more by way of regulation, by way of being... like when we talked about landlords, I'm like, you bring in all this legislation about stuff that landlords need to do, but you don't provide any means for that to happen. You expect the private sector to do that. And so what happens is it becomes a huge burden on smaller participants in that economy, and they all decide to leave. And then what you end up with is massive companies owning all the houses and treating everybody like crap. So I want more government action in some ways and less in others.
Yeah, that's the simple way you just said that. That's how I've always thought about it. I don't really think of myself as being left, right or centre. There's certain things I think the government should be heavily involved with, and then there's other things I think the government should have fuck all to do with.
If you have private providers of social necessities, then they should be regulated by the government, and the government regulation should have a body that actually does the administration of that regulation. So gas checks, electricity checks for private landlords, there should be a council-run company that hires plumbers and electricians that go out and do those checks and charges the landlords for them, but they will be dead properly certified by that organisation, rather than you going out to the private sector where they'll sign off any old shit. But all you've actually done is add to the financial burden of the smallest providers who've got to go to the private sector to now do stuff, and all that ends up doing is going on to the rent.
Yeah, so you are a leftist because you are left of the furthest right fucks who would call you a leftist. Anything that is not the farthest right, most fascist, dedicated ideologue is woke lefty nonsense. So even if you would not self-identify as a leftist, anybody who's not them, to them, they're all lefties. They're all lefties.
And ironically,
all
like,
woke lefties.
A lot of those same people are probably will advocate economic policies that are to the left of what you would do, like Trump's tariffs, for example, things like that.
It's just a bit strange.
It is absolutely clear that he doesn't understand what tariffs are. So I sat in on a wee talk by an economist, HSBC economist, the other week, and they're quite relieved that he didn't bring in the tariffs straight away, and I think they thought they'd probably got away with it. Buckle up, buttercup, Gus. He's just done it. But they're like, we don't think he understands what tariffs are. He's created a department to collect them from foreign governments, and it's like
he stood up at Davos and was like, yeah, you can sell, but only if you pay the tariffs. Everyone was like, who's this live for? Because what the fuck is he talking about? Do you think if he just says it enough, it'll be true?
It's insane.
I mean, it sort of becomes clear, doesn't it, that people like Musk and Zuckerberg as well, let's not let that little fucking worm off the hook, and Trump, they reach a point where nobody can actually disagree with them. Nobody around them. They've managed to eliminate everybody that could ever be in a position to tell them that they're wrong, which leads to a kind of brain rot.
It's also the assumption that they are intelligent and know what they're talking about because they're in these positions to begin with. So you're thinking, well, this is meant to be the fucking apprentice guy. This is Mr. Business. Well, he's got no, he's got no what a tariff is. And then you realise, no, he doesn't. And it's the same probably thing with Zuckerberg and Musk. When we talk about the episode on Musk, that's the main thrust of it, is that the conclusion is this guy's actually kind of stupid, like average to almost below average intelligence actually is the reality of it. But everyone's assuming that because of the position he's in, because of his parents' money, ostensibly, this guy must be clever and know what he's doing. Zuckerberg having nicked any of the good ideas from other people, these guys aren't actually generating any of this brain power themselves. But if you're in a boardroom meeting, I mean, you would assume if you're advising Trump or whatever, maybe not us, but others would think, right, this guy will know at least the basics of the economy, but he doesn't.
Great character in A Fish Called Wanda who keeps sniffing his own armpits when he needs to build his own confidence. It's Kevin Kline character. I can't remember. I want to say Otto. I think he's called Otto. But he's absolutely full of himself and he's thick as mince. He's very, very funny, but he keeps kind of like going,
oh, Tucker just did a Nazi salute.
Listen, that was 180 degrees vertical. That was not a Nazi salute. That was an Otto salute. But there's this fantastic scene where the character Wanda is disabusing him of all the stupid things. The London Underground is not a political movement. I checked all those things, Otto, and they're wrong. But nobody can explain to them because everybody that might have has already been eliminated.
Yeah.
And so obviously not that bright to begin with. Obviously bright enough in some ways. I mean, we always said of Trump, he's got foxy smarts, but he's not a details guy.
Yeah, they can emotionally manipulate, I think.
Well, psychopaths usually always can.
Elon's even that. Trump's charismatic. Elon is not charismatic, he's actively off-putting with every single facial expression, gesture, word that comes out his mouth. He's actively repulsive and off-putting to a point where I don't.
Because Zuckerberg's like a blank. So he's not, you can imagine being around Zuckerberg and going, there's just nothing there, but he's not offending me. So I'm not going to be annoyed by him.
Because you haven't been paying enough attention to how bad Zuckerberg is.
Well, yeah, but I'm more meant on a kind of interpersonal level, but to Laura's point about...
You should be offended just by his choice of clothes these days.
Have you seen him cosplaying as a real boy with that haircut and stuff?
And the gold chains.
Hello, fellow kids. Yes, I also the PlayStation is just it's highly embarrassing.
Past the whole era where he was going to try and run for president, and he kept visiting factories and doing this kind of he's dressing all kind of differently. Yeah, there was rumours about him maybe making run for office at some point.
Into MMA and all that.
Fucking hunting pigs with bows and arrows versus assault rifles.
I think we should arm the pigs. I'm in favour of that. Second Amendment for the pigs.
I wonder which way around it is. When you become that rich and powerful, is that the point that you become like this kind of extreme narcissist
Or
and just have this false sense of self-worth and, you think you can do anything? Or do you have to be like that to get to that kind of stage?
It is. Every single person who has come out to speak publicly about these people who knew them before they were rich and famous, it's like, they were always the absolute fucking worst person you'd ever met in your life.
I think in Trump's case in particular, that to get the way he worked up the ladder, I think it was essentially, you need to be the way that he is to get ahead. This is what the system will reward you.
Trump's father was an absolute fucking psychopath, but was a very, very canny businessman, and he's the one that actually made the money. Trump, if he just put that money in the bank, would have more money than he, aside from whatever it is he's fucking grifted off the backs of people stupid enough to give him his bank details while he's been running for politics.
Now that's the art of the deal, baby.
But I mean, Trump was basically it's the fucking Tony Soprano stuff. I mean, I've recently rewatched the whole of The Sopranos, and it was absolutely fantastic to watch it all again because it'd been so long since I'd watched it the first time, and I realised that what makes The Sopranos great is how much sympathy you end up having for Tony, even though you know you shouldn't. Because the whole thing is about the fact that Tony never actually had a fucking choice. It was like being born into the royal family, if you know what I mean. And there's an episode where he's dealt with all sorts of shit all day long, including his sister's fucking shot her abusive boyfriend, and there's something else goes on. And there's just this scene at the end of it, and he gets home and his wife gives him a load of crap. And like the most powerful man in the area is just sat on the end of his sofa, and he's this crumpled he's just like physically crumpled. And he never had a choice in where he's ended up. But he could have stopped at any time, but he never had a choice in what made him be who he is. Trump never had a choice in what made him be who he is. He was ruined by a fucking hideous family, but he had to be psychologically broken, but he probably inherited that genetically from, psychopathy is an inherited trait.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Compared to his dad, he's probably likable, in contrast. I think it's quite maybe similar to like the like Bush Senior and Junior, actually, in some respects, where, clearly like the smart one, evil one, but the HW was the clever clogs, whereas you've got like the Dumbo version comes along, but trying to live up to dad's expectations and wanting dad's affection, and probably that's never going to happen.
Where's just Jeb fit into that?
Poor Jeb.
Please clap.
Never get the chance to be a war criminal like his relatives.
I know. I mean, yeah. How far will you go for your father's affections? Would you bomb a country? Yeah.
Yeah, Jeb.
Dad will love me. I've killed 1 million people.
Love me now, Dad.
Yeah, Jeb Bush is like the Beau Bridges of the Bush family, isn't he? Like your brother's a hair lip and you're called beautiful, and your brother's the looker.
I think it's why that Trump is probably able to bond with people within that, I don't know, class framework, whatever you wanted to say, because a lot of them have that. They have atrocious relationships with their fathers, and it just turns them into fucking raging psycho monsters. And I think that, it's conceivable to me that I've heard that he is in person, one-on-one. Trump can actually be likable.
Well, that's because he's a psychopath and he mirrors people. So whoever he's in the room with, like we talked about this when he was first, fucking his vice president, Pence, thought he was a devout religious man, because when he was in the room with Pence, he was Pence-like, but when he's in front of a crowd of people, that's when he's fucking channeling Mordor.
Yeah. So I think to answer the question, I think you have to have that psycho thing front and center, I think, from the beginning.
But there is if you're that way, if you're born that way and you're born into a poor family, you'll probably end up in jail. If you're born that way and you're born into a rich family, you'll end up in office or CEO.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Hitler was quite poor, to be fair.
No, it was everyone.
I suppose, yeah. That was the whole point, really, actually, wasn't it?
It's also failed artists. Don't get me started on them. Fucking creatives when they don't get their way.
I'm still quite upset about the fact that...
They shouty pants.
Oh, it's the podcast, so sorry. You noticed how I've learned to tune that out. I just kept going there like she wasn't in the room, and this is, my God.
She's gorgeous.
She knows it. It's a defence mechanism, because if she wasn't, she wouldn't have survived this long. She's too annoying.
Do I scoop the door open a wee bit? Or that might be what she...
No, it's not. She wants attention. She can open the kitchen door. Is also open. She's just come down to inspect you. She's trying now.
She just came down to tell us that she thinks Elon Musk is a twat. Yeah, what she was saying, it's perfectly clear to me. Yeah, I know. He is a twat, isn't he? Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, hi.
I know. That was a Hitler salute. I know, it was. We all agree. You're absolutely right.
Apparently, he's suing people for saying that it was a Nazi salute. If you've published that. So that's why I think all the headlines are written in this weird way.
I know that's why they're rating them that way. That's not acceptable. It's not an excuse. You cannot pussyfoot around because you're afraid of losing money or employment.
Would you not want to get sued, though, for that? Because that would be very funny if that went to court, where he would have to somehow disprove.
I mean, the problem is if he does it in the UK, the slap lawsuits, the UK's legislation regarding libel and stuff like that is just absolutely designed to tie up innocent people. Fucking nonsense.
Is this not where Keir
50,000.
Starmer could do something here? Because I think I'm mentioning a few countries in Europe, I think including Germany, did say, right, well, he's banned. Elon Musk is not fucking coming here now after doing that. You've put up a Nazi salute. We don't like Nazis here. You're not welcome. Keir Starmer didn't do that.
Well, he's busy trying to fucking court the AI movement the week before it fucking finally implodes the way some of us always knew it was going to.
He's not the guy. I keep telling everybody.
Yeah. I like the timing on the AI thing. I just about fucking ended myself.
Talking about other people that are, maybe the assumption that they're clever when they're actually quite stupid, he might fall into that category. Because how on earth did you... I don't know how people are being conned or have been conned by the AI thing. I don't get that at all. It's so obviously bullshit. We did a full episode on this. We're not going to really go over it again.
But the DeepSeek thing is hilarious.
The fact that China have just copied. Well, it's just a series of copying someone else's homework, essentially, isn't it?
Well, I mean, they've been using the American AI models to train their AI model, which is, I mean, it's all destined to end up with, an AI model with a really, really big chin. But
it's going to be like the Spanish royal family.
Should be the AI.
But the AI is a load of shit. I mean, it's useful for some things, but it's just appearing sort of quietly everywhere and fucking everything up. Environmentally ridiculous.
Yes.
Although that's one advantage of the Chinese one. Although you do have to, on the sort of the opposing balancing side of that, say, yeah, try asking it about Tiananmen Square. But it's just, AI isn't going to solve all of our problems. It's not that it's not useful for some things as it stands, but we're a long way away from hell. Mm-hmm. Probably, fortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where this is now going to go, because presumably here, by saying publicly about how great AI is and all this other stuff, these must be all these kind of corporate businessmen out there. They will be like, all right, AI, yeah, that they're now going to work with the Chinese model. So nobody in the West is going to benefit from this, and then the Chinese are just going to hoover up everyone's data. So this would be quite a big L, really, for, I think, everybody involved here.
We didn't want to let Huawei into our fucking telephone networks, although the Tories were going to. It's really only thanks to actually a few sensible Tories kicking up fuck about it that we didn't have Huawei in our infrastructure, which would have meant like they have. But, what, we're going to let a Chinese AI model fucking handle NHS records? Are you mental? Hire more hospital managers. You don't need AI.
The AI thing has been an inside joke and basically since its inception. I told you, like last year, I was in a sort of 3-day working session. People had come over from the States and 3 different vendors, and they were all basically selling their product to us. So we were like, right, we're just going to put all 3 of these guys in a room and just watch them call each other on their bullshit, because they're competing with each other. So if they're going to pitch something, the other person's going to go, hang on, what do you mean by that? So we just let them fight. It was great. But every single time someone mentioned AI, the whole room laughed, because everybody knew this is just a marketing thing.
So how does that work at the top then? Does that mean the people that are in the weeds doing all the actual work know this is baloney? But and Silicon Valley, the heads of all these, do they know it's a work? Do they know it's a con? And how does that work in terms of bank loans and eventually but those banks are going to come knocking on the doors, these tech bros going, where's the fucking money, buddy?
There's an awful lot of venture capitalists who are fucking morons.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're
How do you think Elon got them to pay for buying Twitter?
the VCs and the Saudis. So there are true believers, and then there are people who know that this is it works to the extent that it works. We've all seen it. We've all seen it in action. It will work great for some things, and it does not work for other things. But the things that it works great for, in inverted commas, is not worth the trade-off environmentally. We're baking into everything. They don't know how to fix the AI hallucination problem. They don't know, and they're not like the way the AI works. They don't know how to fix it. They are now at a point where they're upgrading their AI models, and the improvements between models now are getting less and less and less because they've hit a ceiling. And they just won't admit they've hit a ceiling because that's not good for investors. It's not good for raising more venture capital. They need to keep doing this thing where every 2 years it gets better. That, with AI, is not really feasible. Most people at the top raising money do know this. Then there are people who know this but rely on the fact that it's gobbledygook to most other people and pretend they don't know it. It's the same as everything else. It's just... Technology is the same as anything else. It's not good or bad. It is a tool that we can use. It is just about how we use that tool. And the way that AI has been marketed is it's going to replace jobs. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. It's going to be the answer to all these things. It's okay, but no, it's never not. It's never going to be as good as it's not.
Half the time when it produces something, if it's wrong, you need an educated user to know that it's wrong. So it's useful for quickly doing some things as long as you've got a human being that can check the output.
Yeah, because it lies all the time. It hallucinates a bit. If you ask it a question and it doesn't have an answer to the question, it won't say, I don't know. It'll make something up and tell you something.
Yeah.
It'll cite sources that don't exist. People have been caught using it for dissertations. People have been caught using it to write articles for them that they've published. And
court cases, lawyers have used it and cited, previous, case history that doesn't exist.
It's just made.
It's kind of like
I heard that. That's amazing.
It's kind of like buying a car which will not drive you into a wall at 100 miles an hour, 99 out of 100 journeys.
What, you mean a Tesla?
I think a lot of technologies are like this, where it starts off and there's like a seed of something good and you can see where it might go. So people start ploughing money into it in the hope that there will be more breakthroughs as you put that money into it. Yeah. But that's not necessarily going to be the case. And to the extent that they're ploughing money in just now, like nations worth of capital has been put into these things, and energy as well, not just the money, and intellectual capital as well. All our best, people are doing this because that's how you make money. You're not going to work in, some medical thing that's not going to make you a millionaire when you can work for Nvidia for like astronomical amounts of money. So that's the problem. Like, it is following the same pattern that a lot of good technologies do, but just the scale of it is just not manageable. It's
bonkers, and it's a good time to invest in Nvidia right now, though. Their stock prices are historically low. They lost $600 billion in market value in a day. There was more $600 billion.
It's only worth investing if you think it's going to go back up.
It will, because there's too much money behind this. There's too many people who have a vested interest. It will go back up.
I think that the whole Keir Starmer thing with this would have been a great episode of The Thick of It. I think that whole moment of him having to get the guy that comes in to brief him on, this whole AI thing you've been on about, well, there's been a bit of a twist in the fucking tail here, buddy. And that I would love to have been a fly on the wall the moment, because I don't know where the fuck because I mean he's fumbled on so fucking much.
He's really bad at politics, and so
yeah, he's really. I think that's it. He's not like, I don't want to say he's like an evil guy, but it is just like, you're bad at this. Don't do this for a living. It was like fucking Jim Murphy. It's like, don't do this for a living. You're really shit at it. Go and do something else. That's where I'm at with him.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Murphy has gone and done something else. I'm not sure that's better.
Well, to be fair to Jim, I hate Jim Murphy, but I mean, he did listen, and he went, and he's now being paid ungodly money to give terrible advice. But at least he's not in politics.
Yeah.
All right. This has all come full circle then. I didn't know that. So is he? Keir's hired it's an advice firm, isn't it? That he's doing now.
He's
The Wile E. Coyote, fuck the Acme factory or whatever he's working in. A big crate with AI on it with a ticking noise inside. A fucking slingshot that sends him into a cliff.
Arden Strategies are a lobbying firm, and so there's
Lobbying you to make terrible decisions.
and they are right inside the Labour Party. They've been hosting dinners and things like that for lobbyists to have access to Labour politicians. There's
Really feeling upwards. I mean,
there's a great blog called The Dark Arts, which I recommend anybody look up. I'll send you a link that covers what they've been up to. It's not the only one, but yeah, Arden Strategies are introducing bad people or rich people or wherever that Venn diagram is of overlap to the Labour Party, and have been for some time. And that's actually when if you look at the accounts for Arden Strategies, you can see the point at which they stopped having about 50p in a bag of grapes in their reserves and started having like hundreds of thousands of pounds was about 18 months before the general election, the point at which it was pretty obvious to people with money that the Labour Party were going to win next time, and that they needed to start to divert their money to somebody that could get them access to the Labour Party, which is good old Jum. I hear it here. Yeah, it would be equally bad everywhere, but there might be more sunshine.
Should we put them on a bus and paint a tunnel in a wall? Just we'll be get rid of them all, boys.
Scotland made the wrong fucking choice in 2014. With that guy was on a crate getting pelted with eggs, and look what's happened by voting no. The path that we could have been on if we'd voted yes, it would help the English out as well, because there's no fucking way that guy is now advising the Prime Minister. He's back being pelted with eggs somewhere where he belongs.
Do you think Trump's going to try to take Scotland as well, because we have all the things that he likes, like his golf course and oil and
He'll smash up a lot of winds.
I want
Lots of wind farms.
Do you think it's actually Scotland he wants, and he said Greenland by accident because Scotland's quite green?
No,
Actually, yeah.
The reason he wants Greenland is because he doesn't understand how maps work. So,
He's never seen a globe.
yeah, so there's a whole episode. It's not a surprise that he hasn't watched The West Wing, but there is a whole episode of The West Wing that covers this.
Are you going to say what I think you're going to say?
When you flatten
Yeah.
the
Oh God, no.
Care projection.
yeah, it distorts
No.
the land masses at the poles, and that's it. Ed knows, one of the insiders has said, yeah, he's obsessed with Greenland because he thinks it's bigger than it really is, because it looks big on the map. I mean, Greenland is quite big, but it's nowhere near as big as it looked on the maps. I mean, it looks as big as Africa, and it's not.
And yeah, it's oh man.
It's also a key strategic point. It will have been implanted in his fucking stupid orange noggin by Putin, because it's a huge territorial security point because it's the kind of crossing area between Russia and Alaska, America, Canada. So it's a huge strategic area for NATO. So obviously Russia would love to somebody other than the EU to essentially have control over Greenland, and Trump thinks it's...
And he wants to leave the NATO organisation. Have they already done that?
They haven't left NATO yet, but watch this space.
They've left the World Health Organization. They're going to hand their public health over to the worst Kennedy. Fucking... Did you see his confirmation?
I heard bits, and it's just like, right, okay, so you think...
Painful, absolutely painful.
Yeah, I've got like the equivalent of an ice cream headache just thinking about it, like this broad, sharp pain across here. Where do you even start? He thinks black people don't need as much vaccination as white people. There's no evidence that this is true. And the guy whose study he keeps quoting keeps coming out to say, like, get my name out of your mouth. Like, stop fucking talking. That's not what my study says at all.
Did you not say that like one virus has been created to only attack people apart from like Ashkenazi Jews or something?
Yeah, that was COVID. Yeah.
I mean, just to be absolutely, I absolutely think that COVID is something that was fucked about with in the lab in Wuhan. I do think it was it leaked out of the lab. To what extent it had been fucked around with is something for scientists to discuss, not idiots like me. But the supposed fucking crossover bat virus doesn't actually infect bats. So something has been happening, is all I'm saying.
Why does Robert Kennedy look like that? As in the bad one. The bad one.
The why does he look like that?
Yeah. Do you not,
He's a very outdoorsy guy, so I think he's just very leathery from that.
do you not think he's alright? Do you not think he always looks drunk?
Yeah. Well, he had a brain worm, so he's got a bit of his
He can't
brain's
be
been eaten.
But he has.
That's what I was asking seriously as a question. Like, is there a reason?
Well, no, he does also have a neurological condition, which I've seen a lot of people, because obviously a lot of people would have heard about him, but not heard him speak or seen him speak. So there were a lot of people who were like, "Why the fuck's he talking like that? Why is he shaking?" It's like he does have a neurological condition that makes his voice sound like that. But listen to what he's saying. You don't have to comment on what how his voice sounds, because the things that he is saying is batshit crazy town stuff. Like,
Can we discuss the photograph of him with some sort of barbecued roadkill? Can we discuss?
And did not leave the corpse of a bear in Central Park?
Yeah.
Was that not him?
I think he knocked it over with his car when he was out driving, like in the woods somewhere. And then
Or he
thought,
found it.
I'm going to bring this home and like skin it and, turn it into a hat or something. But then when he'd say goodbye, he realised he was going on holiday and he had nowhere to save it. So he thought, where am I going to do this? Oh yeah, I'll just bury it in Central Park.
And then people found it and it was a news story, and people connected the news story with him telling this like years apart. He was like, "Oh yeah, this one time I did this," and everyone was like, "Yeah, this was quite a new, like this is a news story in New York at the time. That was illegal what you did." But yeah, he's just a
He's also a sex pest, like all of Trump's orbit.
They had a minimum requirement for joining the cabinet.
Do you have any sex offences on your record yet? No, not yet. Oh, well, that's good enough. You can join. We'll work at that.
If you would like to support the Angry Scotland podcast, you can do so by sending a one-time donation via PayPal. Link in the description.